And speaking of what should not be allowed for children, but Nevada. Like, what are you doing, Nevada? Nevada has a GOP governor, but a Democratic Congress or state Senate and state house, right? So they sent a bill to the governor's desk that requires insurance companies to pay for the sex changes for minors. He signed it. He didn't veto it. Now, he did veto another bill that would have made Nevada a sanctuary state. So he kind of went in the middle here, but he vetoed it. And from what I was looking at a lot of this too, is that so apparently they did this. He did this so that the Democrats would fund his sports ball stadium. I know it's a baseball stadium. I just like the term sports ball. It's kind of fun. But they did it so that they would fund his Las Vegas stadium for the Oakland A's. And so he basically sold out children for a baseball stadium, for like a bargaining chip for the baseball stadium so that it would get funded. So he's for stealing your tax money. So if you live in Nevada, your governor is stealing your tax money to go to a baseball stadium, but also using your children as bargaining chips to get Democrats to sign off on it. This is just an awful story. Harmy Dillon says Republican governor signing a piece of trash to the left puts before him, or he signing every piece of trash that the left puts before him, including mandating gender surgical coverage so that the legislator will give him Las Vegas Stadium. And she's right. So who's going to pay for the detransition when most patients regret this madness? That's the thing. So who, like, I actually agreed. And actually, Florida, I don't think Florida was able to pass this legislation. But I agree with the legislation that if insurance companies do provide gender-affirming care, then they should be required to also provide detransition services. Required. Because it seems right now they are providing care. I put those. I should start putting care in quotes because it's not care. They are providing this gender treatments to young kids, but they are not providing it when they detransition. I've talked to a number of detransitioners who they can't even get doctors to take their cases. It's insane. And then insurance pays for it on the way down, but they won't pay for them to, they pay for one way, but they won't pay for it to go back. And where was the other? So there was another part of this. Now, like I said, he did. There was 3 bills. One he vetoed. The other, so he did veto a bill that actually would have protected medical care providers. So it says the bill would have prevented medical providers from losing their license for providing gender-affirming care and would have prohibited his office from assisting in out-of-state prosecutions. So basically, it was a bill to protect providers from lawsuits, which you got to be careful when you read some of these bills. Some of these bills, they look good on the surface because they're banning it, but then they don't do anything to doctors who, circumvent it. So basically, like the Georgia bill, it went to the House and then had to come, where the House changed it. The original Senate version actually protected healthcare providers, whereas once it went to the House said, no, you should lose your license if you do this, and you should be open to civil and criminal penalties if you provide this care. So Courtney L says, I can't get on board with the gender dysphoria paid surgery unless they agree to pay for the many surgeries that would involve for body dysmorphia cases too, considered purely mental, so cosmetic. I agree. Look, I don't care what you do as an adult, but don't you shouldn't force people to pay for it. Now, I mean, again, private insurance companies can provide care for. I mean, it's private insurance. They're not forcing you to pay into it, but I still, you pay into it. So I'm not so worried about it now. Like, again, like health savings accounts, that's your money. So you go pay for it however you want. I have no issues with those types of things. Same with, but again, I think that should go for any plastic surgery, any plastic surgery. That's all it is. I mean, to be quite fair, any gender related surgery is simply plastic surgery. Like, it's not, it's not a it's a life-changing surgery, but it's not like getting your gallbladder removed or your appendix removed when it's about to burst. Like, those are like life-saving procedures. Like, not having your tits done is not a life-saving procedure. So you can pay for that out of pocket yourself. Yeah, I agree. So Courtney says private can do what they want, they wish, but so many on Medicaid, and that's what the government controls right now. Yeah, I agree. I don't think government should be paying for this, just like I don't think government should be ever pay for abortion or anything like that. Now, remember the bill we talked about last week with California on the surrogacy issue? That bill only affected employer-provided insurance companies. It didn't specify, like, it actually opted the state providers out. So some of this stuff you start to think like maybe, again, they are trying to collapse the medical system so that we move to a, socialist-based, socialized medical system. Medicaid doesn't even pay for tooth implants. Yeah, and that's what's interesting too. I don't know how Medicaid works. Most insurance companies are, dental is different than, like, you have to pay extra for dental. So, but yeah, so, what's really amazing though about this, like, this is again a Republican who is signing this bill, when a new Harvard Harris poll came out this week and said even 67% of Democrats oppose child sex changes. 67%. I mean, a lot of people are saying that's 33% in favor. Yeah, I got that. But 67% agree with us that are sitting here right now that say that children should not be able to have life-altering elective procedures done until they're 18. 67% of Democrats. What's also interesting about this poll is that this was kind of an offshoot too. The poll also said that 70 when asked if schools should be explaining to kids under 10 years old what gender is, like it's something that they can declare, or 70% of voters said schools should not explain this to kids, with 54% of Democrats in agreement. And yet, Moms for Liberty, No Left Turn Education, Mom Army, and all these other parents organizations are deemed a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center. Now, what was really the poll was really weird though too, because it said 49% of respondents said they believe schools are too focused on teaching kids gender and race ideologies, with 83% saying they are satisfied with their kids' schools. So this just tells me that they don't know what's going on in their children's schools. Because if they're saying that that they're satisfied with what's going on in their children's schools, yet they don't believe that they don't believe that they should be teaching this stuff to kids. It just shows that they don't know what's going on in their schools. And yes, Psycho, the SPLC is a hate group. It is. Like, they target their political opponents with their hate group map, because that's what they are. They are the definition of a hate group. And most people think so too. But I just don't think many people know what's going on with schools. They're not, and this is, again, I always kind of say, like, I posted this and said, this is why I say the internet's not real. Because online, you would see that everybody on the left thinks that, gender-related surgeries are, life-saving, and that children should be able to make those decisions for themselves. And that's what the politicians are looking at that and saying, yes, this is what our constituents believe. But I've never really thought that was the case. And like I said, I mean, you can look at this poll, and here's the poll. I pull it right up for you on the show. Like, it says most voters say that puberty blockers and gender surgery should only be allowed for those over 18, with 78% total voters. 78% of total voters think that we should be restricting gender-related surgery and medicalization in terms of puberty blockers and hormones to those over the age of 18. What is concerning is that 11% of GOP voters think that, 11% of GOP voters think that it should be allowed for minors. How does that even happen? Again, there's so many people buying the lies. I just don't think that people are paying that much attention to it. It's like everything when it comes to the internet and what we're fighting online. But when it comes to, like, everyday normal people that are not on the internet, they're not paying that much attention to it. They know that, I mean, even 67% of Democrats know this, but it's not what's influencing policy, because what's influencing policy is what's seen every day on Twitter. Psycho says, I'm called a transphobe for having adult trans women as friends. Leave kids alone. Yeah, leave kids alone and leave women's sports alone. Yeah. I get called transphobic for being I've been called transphobic for calling myself a transsexual, which is why we're taking it back. I'm not wearing my hat today, but it's why we're taking the T back. T needs to stand for transsexual again. Because yes, in order to be considered trans, you need to medicalize. Like, you need to have a gender dysphoria diagnosis and go to live your life as the opposite sex every day to be considered trans. Sorry. Not sorry.